Welcome back to the latest news in the video game industry, brought to you by the guys at Megavisions Magazine. Graham, we've learned some big news coming out of Microsoft today, and I'm sad to say that no, it's not a new Viva Pinata game like you were hoping for, but I think you're going to be pretty excited to share this news with our viewers.
Yeah, I mean, can I now officially announce that Microsoft has won the next console war?
Dude, let's just tap the brakes a little bit on that. I think it's you're getting a little too excited, but I do think this is some super big news, maybe the biggest news in the game industry so far this year. So let's just jump right into it then, Graham.
Okay, let's get into it. Yeah. So today, Monday, the 21st of September, 2020, Microsoft has announced their plans to acquire ZeniMax Media, who's the owner of Bethesda Softworks, for a whopping $7.5 billion in cash. As you all should hopefully know, Microsoft and Sony are both hotting up with the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X console launches coming out in November, so just a couple of months' time. And arguably, Microsoft's launch lineup has been a bit disappointing for gamers because they've delayed Halo 5 Infinite, and without Halo 5 Infinite, the Xbox doesn't actually have any brand new exclusive titles. All its launch titles are going to be multi-platform, or their games are already available on Xbox One or PC. But yeah, Microsoft has been adding games and creators to their arsenal over the last few years. I mean, they added 6 studios in 2018. They added another one last year. And in 2014, it spent $2.5 billion on purchasing Mojang, the makers of Minecraft. So that was a big purchase for them back then. But also, the Xbox Series X does have some promise behind it. It's got the Game Pass subscription service, which launched on Xbox One, and that's been doing really well. So Microsoft announced the other day that they're now at 15 million subscribers, which is up from 10 million subscribers in April this year. So that's been doing really well for them.
That's pretty good.
Oh, yes. And on this note of them looking at purchasing ZeniMax, Xbox chief Phil Spencer said, in a blog post, Bethesda's games have always had a special place on Xbox and in the hearts of millions of gamers around the world. Our teams have a close and storied history working together. So, I mean, what do you think of that bit of news, Chris? What's your take?
Like I said, I think this is probably the biggest piece of news that's come out so far this year in the game industry. But I think right away, this now puts Microsoft like on par with Sony in terms of like first party studios, because before that purchasing spree Microsoft kind of went on that you touched on earlier, Graham, they had a very kind of poor first party game studios. They didn't really have a lot that they were doing and relied heavily on third parties. But now you've got Bethesda, which they're bringing the Elder Scrolls, Doom, Fallout. You also have Rare, Obsidian, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, Mojang, like you said, the Coalition, and Sony. I mean, as I was putting this list together, though, I was looking. Sony's first-party studios are insane. They've got a huge list of great development studios. You have Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, Sucker Punch, Ben Studio, Insomniac, Guerrilla Games, Ben Studio, Media Molecule, Polyphony. So Sony is still, I think, king in terms of like first-party development studios between Microsoft and Sony. But I think Microsoft has really narrowed the gap really quickly with this purchase. And I think one of the big questions going forward, if you really look at like Bethesda and Sony, they have, over the past few years, their relationship has gotten pretty close. And even to the fact that they had 2 console exclusive or timed exclusive, I should say, games that were going to be coming out on the PlayStation 5 close to at launch or either at launch with Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. And so it already seemed like right before this, Bethesda was getting like really in close to Sony. So this is an interesting development, I think. And so I did see that Phil Spencer has confirmed that they will honor the timed exclusivity for both of those games for the PlayStation. So they're going to let that one run out. And then going forward, I guess they're just going to look on a case-by-case basis for any potential release outside of like Xbox systems and stuff. So I think I have a theory, Graham, that this console generation between Sony and Microsoft is going to be won by the amount and quality of first-party games that either system is going to have. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that could be the case. I mean, sometimes the system wars are won on, power and stuff, but we're yet to see what the capability of the platforms is in terms of gameplay and visuals. On paper, the Xbox Series X is meant to be more powerful than PS5, but that doesn't always mean it'll be the best performing for games. I mean, take a look at the PS3 versus Xbox 360. On paper, PS3 was the better console. It was more superior, more powerful, but more often than not, games that were multi-platform works better on the Xbox 360 or ran equally as good on the PS3. There was only a handful of games that the PS3 showed its worth. I mean, in fact, speaking about Bethesda, coming around in full circle, Skyrim was notoriously bad on PS3. It had loads of problems with frame rate issues where the game would literally go down to a snail's pace, which didn't really happen on Xbox 360. So power doesn't always mean the best thing. But that said, at the end of the day, it is the games that make a system more memorable. So if all third-party software went multi-platform, then both Microsoft and Sony would need to secure some top first-party exclusives. So Sony has the big lead on that right now. I mean, they've got it in the bag. And it does look like Microsoft is starting to play catch-up, especially with this purchase. Yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with you there. I think it's going to be down to the first-party games and the quality of them as well. I mean, you could have 1,000 first-party games that they're not good. You're not really going to want them. But yeah, Sony's so strong there. But Chris, to you, if Microsoft is aiming at bolstering its exclusive games library, do you think ZeniMax and the companies that therein owns is the right buy for Microsoft to achieve this goal for this generation?
I honestly couldn't think of a more perfect fit for Microsoft and ZeniMax. I think so many of their games just feel like they fit at home on Xbox consoles. And plus, I think this opens up the idea to some crazy possibilities down the line. I mean, what would you think, Graham, if we had a Halo and Doom crossover game at some point?
I mean, I'd love that. I enjoy Doom. I love Halo.
Why can't we have a world with Doom and Halo being in the same universe? I want that to happen. I want to see a crossover game. That would be so awesome. I
mean, I could tell, even if it's just unlockable skins in either game, I could see that being a really cool thing to add. If Microsoft was able to do that. I mean, do you have any fears though over this at all? Like if Microsoft was to handle it poorly, or are you quite open to this?
I think with Phil Spencer at the helm, I trust him as an executive that he's going to do the right thing. I think the best thing with that they can do with ZeniMax is just to let them continue to operate, because they have been doing really, really well. I mean, they've just grown so much over the years. So I think the best thing for them is to just support them in whatever way that they may need, and get all those games exclusive onto every Xbox platform you can. Microsoft, you need to make. I mean, this is not a cheap purchase. $7.5 billion in cash. That is a ton of money, and so they're definitely. This might be. You might look at this as reactionary because of Halo, but I think it's much more than that. I don't think they're looking at this as a fix for Halo at launch, because they're not going to get the benefit of that for quite some time. This is more of a longer term strategy, I think, and I think it's set up. It's setting them up to win the console generation, and I would probably say that I think their chances of doing so increased after this for sure. How much that increased, I don't know, but I think this was a very smart move for Microsoft. Good job on them.
Yeah, I think we should add a small note that I think it was announced by Microsoft that they expect the sale completion to be done end of first half 2021, so June-ish 2021. So yeah, it's not going to be at launch. It's not going to be for a good few months, really, nearly a year maybe, but we'll see what happens. Watch this space. It'd be really cool. I think for me as a Microsoft fan, I'm the resident fanboy. I'm very excited for this, and I love Skyrim, and I love the Elder Scrolls games. So Skyrim, Oblivion, Morrowind, all that. So Yeah, exciting. But yeah, that's going to wrap up for today's top piece of gaming news. We'll be back soon with another video, and be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and keep up to date with the latest industry news, our podcast, our streaming clips, and much more. So yeah, and also don't forget to check out our Patreon at www.patreon.com/Megavisions, and you can subscribe to our physical magazine or digital version, and there's lots of other stuff that's happening behind the scenes, so check us out. Cheers.
See you later.